Hello friends, welcome to my channel Sushant Chess Wise. So we are going to look at a game on the Caro Kann defense, the line which we have discussed before the exchange variation. Let us see how two grandmasters go about this variation. Today we are seeing a game by India's second grandmaster Divyendu Barua. Let us see how simply he uses the positional factor and generates a strong kingside attack. Let's start with the game. E4, C6. And now comes C, D4, D5, E takes D5, C takes D5. The exchange variation. Here white develops the F1 bishop first because we know the rule that when we know the best place for the bishop can come first. Usually what happens, the bishops have more choices, and in this case you can see the D3 place is the best one. Nothing happens from B5 check, C4 is not there, E2 is passive, so white goes BD3. Black plays NC6, and here we should go with the move order of NF3 first and then go C3 after BG4. In this game it was other way around. White went C3, NF6, NF3, BG4. You would have got the same position with the other move order as well. And now castle E6, and as soon as E6 is played, BG5. White pieces coordinate beautifully. The B1 knight will come to D2. It will support the F3 point so that the queen on D1 is free. So H6 was played first. Generally H6 is delayed. Black plays B7 castle. BH4. Of course white wants to keep the pin. B7, ND2, castle. And here generally if the pawn would be on H7, white would have played QC2 first, forcing H6, BH4 and then Rook C8. We would have got that kind of position. Since here H6 and BH4 is done, white just goes RE1. See, white has a very simple plan. He wants to move the knight to E5, get the queen out to F3 or maybe BC2, QD3. We will see that, and generate a kingside attack. See, already black has moved one pawn in front of his castled position, or white wants to force the movement of one more pawn. So see Rook C8, and now see Queen C2 is not possible here because there will be just C and B4, and after Queen moves Knight D3, the important bishop would be traded. So white goes H3. This is a typical idea here. White is forcing black to surrender the bishop. Now see, if BH5, then G4, BG6 takes and Rook takes C6. White is almost winning. D5 is weak, G6 is weak, he is a pawn up, and the king safety you can see both have problems. Maybe black has more. So BF3, knight takes F3, and now NA5. This is a very standard plan. Black wants to play knight to C4 and maybe go B5, B4. So white immediately plays NE5. This is a very standard way. Knight E5, then we stop knight C4. Sometimes after knight C4 we take bishop C4, sometimes we can take knight C4 depending upon what kind of other structure or situation we have on the king side. So here black plays NC4 and white decides to go knight takes C4, DC4 and go bishop C2. See, white has the simple bishop pair advantage here. What bishop pair does? The bishop pair are considered slightly better than bishop and knight. The reason being they control both the colors and both are long range pieces. What happens with a knight is that it has to be present closer to the place where the action is going on. Otherwise the knight cannot control both sides freely like a bishop can do. So that is one of the main problems with the knight. And here both bishops are active. Sometimes what happens, players, those less experienced, they think that bishop pair means having two bishops all the time. But if one bishop is stuck or it's bad, then that's not a real advantage. So here black goes A6, he wants B5. And now see the beauty of this position. One must be wondering how to weaken the black king side. We know that once we have managed to make one committal move on the king side near the castled king, we want one more pawn move to happen. And how will it happen? See, white wants queen E2 and queen E4, and if queen comes on E4, black will have to play G6. This is the main secret of these kind of kingside attacks. Okay, and how to force that? See, white uses another positional mean here. Let's see how. Queen E2, b5 and see rook a d1. See the beauty of, or you can say the simplicity here of the position. White wants d5. See after d5, let's say black just ignores and see goes b4. We will use d5 and now see after knight d5, bishop takes e7. Now see knight cannot take on e7 because queen is attacked by the rook. Queen e7, rook takes d5 and piece is simply lost because of the pin of the e6 pawn. So black had to play the move nd5 which controls d5. And now white goes queen e4. Exactly this was his idea. Now bishop h4 cannot be taken, of course. There is mate on h7 and f5 is met by queen e6 check. e7 bishop may fall. So it's forced to go g6 and this is exactly white wanted. Bishop takes e7. Now see queen e7 loses on the spot to queen d5 once again. Thus knight e7 forced, and now the superiority of the bishop will be seen over the knight. Why bishop is stronger than the knight? Firstly, the bishop and pawns should complement each other, means the pawns see on c3 d4 are positioned on black squares, the bishop is of white squares. So the squares see c5, e5, d5, e4, this whole complex will be controlled by pawn and the bishop both together. This is what usually knight fails to do. Okay. So now queen f4, we want the black king on h7 so that we can push h4, h5. So black will see play kg7, of course he won't comply. White uses the check, queen e5 check. Now f6 allows queen takes e6, king h7 forced, and now comes h4. See the simplicity of the position. White simply wants h5, make g6 weak. The knight cannot go to f5 so easily. It will be attacked by g4 later. Right now there would be just h5 to an f5. So queen d5, trying to trade the queens. White of course will not exchange, and kg7. Once again covering the f6 square. White wants queen f6, black stops that. b4, driving the queen from the fourth rank over there, pushes it back to d5. And see again queen check, king h7, and see h5. How beautifully the thing is planned. Simplistic approach by white. Now next thing, queen is going to come to f6, which happened anyway, re8, queen f6. And now we can see white has a deadly threat. Let's say nf5 is not played, nf5 was played in the game, we'll come to that. If black ignores and just plays, let's say a6, b4 idea, then rook e3, b4, rook g3. See the collapse happening on the king side. Now e7 knight can never leave because g6 would fall. And see what can black do. Rook g8 allows queen f7 followed by bg6 or hg6. So this position is see on the spot losing. Without sacrificing anything, no complications, white's position is just winning. So black goes nf5 and here white gets the other plan rolling, he goes d5. Centralized pieces, active pieces, creating simple play on the king side and the center. So e takes d5 forced, rd5. If now queen e7, white has a beautiful finish to try to calculate. It's white to play and win. There comes of course rook f5. You must have noted. Queen f6 allows rook f6, white is piece up. So forced to go gf, but gf leads to a forced mate after queen f5, kg7. To try to calculate, there is a mate in 3. So qh7, kf6, queen h6, ke5. Many suggest bc6 here, but f4 mates on the spot. So white would have won. So black plays qc8, and after qc8 here actually very strong is rook e d1. We can threaten hg followed by rook d7. So black cannot take on e4. But white went with another combination here. White went rook f5. Looks bit risky because it is going to be 2 rooks for the queen. Of course gf is blunder. Gf just allows bf5 check. So queen f5, bishop takes f5, rook e1, kh2, g takes f5. Looks like a critical position, but white had seen properly that he doesn't want the f5 pawn. He takes a6. And now see, pawns are weak on both sides of the board. King is exposed. It means that the queen is really superior to the 2 rooks. Now see, again queen is coming back to f6. Black goes rook e5, protects b5, queen f6, rook d5, and white creates a zugzwang with f4. Black chooses to resign. One may well wonder, why did black resign? See, both are grandmasters, well over 2500 rating, and both must have seen that after rook c5, see, only move, because if rook d8 then f7 is lost. If king moves, then h6 is lost. So after the only move here, rook c5, there is queen e7 attacking both the rooks, so forcing the active rook to retreat. And now comes queen e5. See, rook b8 forced, queen f5 check, kg7 and g4. You can see white wins very easily with g5. Black cannot play f6 because of qg6 check, winning more material. And black understood that there is just a torturous end over here, nothing else. So he chooses to resign. So this is the right way, right approach to study the openings, prepare an opening and go through the games played by masters in the same opening. Not only we know the moves, we know the plan, idea, how to go about the middle game and maybe end game in some cases. I hope you must have enjoyed this lesson. Do let me know in the comments below. Thanks for your time.